information will come through automatically. We are getting numbers that show that we're higher than that, towards 1,000. We think part of that will be because we're nearly 3 months on from the December cut-off, when we thought we had 700. So we are seeing higher figures.
So what Rob's alluding to is a process that we committed to improving significantly. I've been working closely with Regulatory Services Department and REMU on a more reliable process that, as Rob points out, will become automated. We have actually concluded a piece of work which needs to be, I think, shared properly with the Minister's Office and the Mayor's Office, and they need to have a conversation about how that information goes out. But we have achieved what we committed to doing, which was coming up with a robust methodology to, in particular, answer that question of what's actually been completed. Now, we don't want to present any particular numbers at this meeting, but we do have some work that we are in a position to share in due course.
But it's more than just what's being completed. It's quite clear that there's a lot of building activity and earthwork activity that appears to be going on at the moment.
Absolutely.
Which would indicate that there's certainly much more than 700 that's been reported in the media. And I'm just sort of trying to get my head around what those figures are going forward.
Yep.
So that, I think we need to sort of be a little bit more positive on this rather than it appears to be in the media.
So through you, Madam Chair, that 700 number relates to the sum of completed dwellings in SHAs generally. That's a December number. It's already somewhat out of date. What we've been working on is a more up-to-date figure, and with the intent of being able to distinguish between completed dwellings in SHAs generally, and which ones are attributable entirely to the consenting process under HASHA. So that's always been something we've had trouble differentiating. But either way, it's just the tip of a very large program of work. And if you refer to page 4 of the attachment A, that starts to give you some sense of the numbers that are following rapidly behind the completions number. For example, we have, just in terms of plan variations, 9 plan variations underway for 9,000, almost 10,000 dwellings. So those will then go through the subsequent consenting in terms of actual development consents, building consents, construction activity. What we've shown you in terms of the photos is really just a sample of that.
Thank you, Councillor Quakes. But I think that's a good illustration of we put the information out, we're upbeat and positive, and the media take on it is never quite commensurate with the way that we present it. I've got Councillor Watson, Councillor Darby, the Mayor, Councillor Philippaina, and Councillor Webster, and Councillor Cooper. Councillor Watson.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. And, yeah, great report, David. Very instructive. And just further to what the Chair was saying, I mean, certainly 154 special housing areas, 56,000 capacity, proposed unitary plan zonings. I don't think anyone can accuse the Auckland Council of not doing its bit to meet the housing crisis when you look at these statistics. Just one question, David. It's one I asked before, but I never quite sort of remember it. Is in terms of all the monitoring, could you just quickly just explain what the process is for ensuring the required number of affordable homes are getting, are getting built? What is the specific mechanisms that enable us to ensure that is being fulfilled?
I think the monitoring of what actually happens post the council's primary role in terms of the consenting process is something that we'll work on for the remainder of the year. And you'll notice in the recommendations there's a recommendation for a full evaluation report by December. I think that report is where we will tackle some of those what are the outcomes from the overall process. And we don't yet have a methodology. What we did have was a process to ensure that developers made an undertaking, a statutory declaration that they would commit to achieving the 10% affordability requirement that goes with particular SHAs. Now, exactly what happens after, you can see from today what we've been able to get to is a process that will tell us where homes have been completed. So what you're referring to is probably the next challenge. How do we get the next level of information? Bearing in mind that the deeper we go into this, the more we get into information that may be sensitive about particular owners of particular dwellings and that sort of thing. But we will proceed cautiously, but we know that we need to get more of that sort of information. We just don't have a methodology yet.
Okay, so we still need to decide on some mechanism that ensures that monitoring comes, and it will be the council who will have to do that.
I assume it would be the council, but it may be that it's not the council. We need to discuss that. Happy to take guidance from the committee on these sorts of issues, but it's a matter that, between the COO and the CPO and any other department that might have some overall responsibility for this, between the housing accord and the housing strategy overall, we need to think about what is the best way to get that sort of information.
Can we come back with that, Councillor Watson? It's a very good question. Councillor Darby.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, you actually did say something that you said that you wrote this up on a whiteboard and it was your request. Are you not forgetting my part in that, Madam Chair? Because I really quite resented that comment.
Okay. Right.
Madam Chair, I sent an email in September last year saying that neither you or the Mayor had any idea when you made comments about where we were in terms of housing because we could not read it. And I emailed the staff and I said we needed to understand through a matrix like this, a template like this. And I don't need to own all this, Madam Chair, but it was not your whiteboard, it was my email. Oh. And no, I am making this point because I am the deputy chair of this committee and you just ignored my participation and I resent that.
Former deputy chair.
Mr. Mayor.
No, I haven't finished.
Oh, okay.
David and Rob, thanks for this. And thanks for the many discussions we've had about the importance of a template like this. Up until now, this council has not been able to read its success or otherwise in its response to the legislation. It clearly has not, but now we have. We're drowning in data and your teams have done amazing work, and I just thank you for that. For me, it's always been important to be able to respond to constituents or media or a minister when they are asking how successful is this council and what is it doing in the space of housing. I think we've really excelled. We've responded to the statute and we're going to have to stay on top of it. The only area, and you and I have discussed this, the only category that is missing here is typology. And this is going to be the primary reading template going forward. Am I correct?
Yes.
So I would, and I know you're gathering this information because we've gone from understanding sections to dwellings to typology and the importance of typology. And typologies will be added as that data comes in.
Yes.
And members, the importance of understanding typology and not just section numbers or dwelling numbers is that there is demand in particular areas of housing. And that's our next task, is to really get our heads around and keep closely monitoring the uptake demand for particular typologies, particularly 1 and 2 household unit typologies. And that's where the greatest demand is now, and that will be accelerating. And what's accelerating it is the convergence of the baby boomers in that category, getting out of their 3-4 bedroom home, and they are looking towards smaller units, as are those that are finding their first home, and young families finding their first home, and they are also competing. So there's this convergence between the seniors and the youngs looking for the same housing typology. And that's going to be a real challenge for us, providing for that, not just providing sections or dwellings per se. The challenge is going to be us keeping on top of meeting that demand for smaller units, and that's apartments, that's mixed, etc. So look, I want to congratulate you for pulling this together. I know this has not been a big task, and I know I was promised it in December, and then it was February and March, and here we are, but we got it. This is an easy template to read and look at our success, because as I see it, it is success. But this is not the end of it. It's the end of the tranches, of course, and 10 is just about to be gazetted. But now we have to dig down deeper into the next stage of our work. And I look forward to doing that with you. So thank you very much. I'm happy to move, Madam Chair.
Great, and I'm very happy to second. Mr Mayor. Mr Maris?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Still recovering. Hubris is a really important and most undervalued value within the political psyche, and I'm just encouraging councillors to remember that. Right. Madam Chair, I've just got two things to add, and I want councillors to have a look, first of all, at graph 4. And graph 4 is really critical for us going forward. A lot of the debate around the housing crisis and the challenge in supply was because we sunk into a great big non-housing building hole for 4 years during the CFG. We were building about 1,000 to 2,000 houses a year. And so one of the things that we decided as a chamber, and that the government was really keen for us to do, was to try and break the problem of non-performance through recession years for all of the reasons. And so look, you see those projections there, both SHA and non-SHA, business as usual, projected growth and development. Now, it's probably more hope than reality, because recession years bring challenges. But I can see here a sustainable element of build in Auckland through the years ahead that hopefully the market sector will be able to pick up and take, but we've put in place the right framework to be able to do it. And so I'm really pleased with how that looks, and with where I suspect we'll go into the decades ahead in terms of housing development and build. The second point, and of course we're going now through major discussions to the back end of this term that talk about the shape and the urban form of Auckland. And I'm really encouraged by the fact that Aucklanders in many ways are ahead of this debate, the issue of whether or not we build up and build out. And if you have a look at graph 6, you will see that we have averaged in the last year 339 multi-unit buildings a year through the last year. And in the last month, in December, we did 44% of our consents were multi-level, multi-unit developments. And that reflects the growing maturity of the Auckland housing market. And it reflects greater choice, and we had a lot of discussion in here earlier this morning about affordability. By far, the most affordable options and choices within our housing market are the ones that we're now finally starting to build with bulk, and that is your apartment, terraced housing, and all those sort of options and choices. And so it's great to see us being able to deliver now across the whole spectrum of housing choice, and that's what it was always about, housing choice. We just need to keep following these graphs and see the importance of the plan that we're going to finally sign off to enable choice. Aucklanders are voting with their checkbooks on this front. So are the consents following that? So, Madam Chair, it's an excellent report, and it's mostly a harbinger of what I see as better things to come for the city.
Thank you. Councillor Webster.
Thank you. 3, 4. No, it's a great report. Thank you very much. And Madam Chair, I know how much blood, sweat and tears goes into this from your point of view. David, just a couple of things. There's one here, Bristol Road, Wood Hill. Is that the Ngāti Whātua? Because nothing's been done on
Restal Road is the Papakainga
Papakainga,
west
yeah,
of
that's what I thought.
Kumeu.